Hey everyone, welcome back. What she thinks when you don't chase her stoicism. What if I told you that the moment you stop chasing her is the moment you become truly attractive? Not just to her, but to yourself. I'm about to share something that 2,000-year-old Stoic philosophy teaches us about modern relationships. And it's going to completely flip your understanding of attraction on its head. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what goes through her mind when you stop being the pursuer, and why this ancient wisdom might be the key to not just better relationships, but a better life. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase someone, the faster they seem to run away? And conversely, the moment you step back and focus on yourself, suddenly they become more interested? There's actual philosophy behind this, and it's not manipulation. It's wisdom. I've studied Stoic philosophy not just as an academic exercise, but as a practical guide for modern life. Today, we're diving deep into how ancient Stoic principles can revolutionize your approach to relationships. Now, before we continue, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. This is about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts healthy relationships because you've developed genuine self-respect and emotional stability. The Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, they understood something fundamental about human nature that we've somehow forgotten in our swipe right, instant gratification world. So grab a coffee, settle in, because we're about to explore what she's really thinking when you stop chasing and why it matters more than you think. Chapter 1, The Stoic Foundation. Let's start with the basics. What is Stoicism, really? Stoicism isn't about being emotionless or cold. That's Hollywood Stoicism. Real Stoicism is about emotional intelligence, self-control, and focusing on what you can actually control. Marcus Aurelius, literally the most powerful man in the world at his time, wrote in his personal journal, which we now call Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Now, how does this apply to relationships? Here's the thing. Most men approach dating and relationships from a place of scarcity and neediness. They think they need to constantly prove their worth, constantly chase, constantly be on. But the Stoic approach is radically different. It says, I am complete as I am. I don't need external validation to be worthy of love and respect. Epictetus, who was literally a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught that no one can hurt you without your permission. This applies to rejection, to being ignored, to all the mind games that happen in modern dating. When you truly internalize this, when you stop giving other people the power to determine your self-worth, something magical happens. You become magnetic. But here's what most men get wrong about this. They think Stoicism means being aloof or playing hard to get. That's not it at all. It's about being genuinely content with yourself, genuinely focused on your own growth and purpose. And women, they can sense this authenticity from a mile away. Chapter 2, The Psychology of Pursuit. Now let's talk about what happens in her mind when you're constantly chasing her. And I want to back this up with both ancient wisdom and modern psychology. First, the Stoic perspective. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginnings." And when you're constantly pursuing someone, you're essentially telling them and yourself that you don't believe you're enough as you are. But here's the psychological reality, too. There's something called the scarcity principle. We value what's rare and hard to get. When you're always available, always texting back immediately, always saying yes to her plans, you're signaling abundance, not scarcity. Think about it this way. Have you ever been in a situation where someone was constantly trying to hang out with you, constantly texting you, and you found yourself pulling away? It's not because they were bad people. It's because their energy felt heavy, needy. Now, from her perspective, when you're chasing, here's what she's likely thinking. Why is he so available all the time? Doesn't he have his own life? This feels overwhelming. I need space to breathe. If he's this desperate for my attention, what does that say about his options? I'm not even sure how I feel about him because he's not giving me space to miss him. Let me share a story. I once knew a guy, let's call him Jake. Jake met this incredible woman, Sarah. From day one, he was all in, texting her good morning and good night, always available for her calls, canceling plans with friends to be available for her. Sarah initially appreciated the attention, but within weeks, she started feeling suffocated. She told her friends, he's a great guy, but it's too much. I feel like I can't breathe. Jake's mistake wasn't caring about Sarah. His mistake was abandoning himself in the process of pursuing her. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago. They knew that the moment you lose yourself in pursuit of something external, whether that's a person, a job, or anything else, you've already lost. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." When you truly embody this principle, when you're genuinely happy and fulfilled with your own life, something shifts in your energy. You stop chasing because you don't need to chase. You're not trying to fill a void with someone else's attention. And that's when you become truly attractive. Chapter 3, The Transformation. So what exactly happens when you stop chasing? What goes through her mind when you shift from pursuer to the person living your own life? First, let's talk about the immediate shift. When you stop constantly initiating contact, stop always being available. Stop making her the center of your universe. There's usually a period of confusion. She's used to a certain dynamic. She's used to knowing exactly where she stands with you. Suddenly, that certainty is gone. Her initial thoughts might be, why isn't he texting me like he usually does? Did I do something wrong? Wait, is he talking to someone else? But here's the crucial part. This isn't about playing games or trying to make her jealous. This is about you genuinely redirecting your energy toward your own growth and purpose. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. When you stop chasing not as a strategy, but as a natural result of being focused on your own life, the energy is completely different. You're not checking your phone every 5 minutes hoping she texted back. You're not analyzing her Instagram stories for hidden meanings. You're not available at her beck and call because you have your own important things to do. And here's what starts happening in her mind. He seems different lately, more grounded. I kind of miss our conversations. He's got his own thing going on. That's actually really attractive. Why do I suddenly want to text him? This taps into what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning. When someone goes from constant availability to selective availability, it actually increases their perceived value. But again, and I can't stress this enough, this only works if it's authentic. If you're just pretending to have a life while secretly obsessing over her, she'll sense the inauthenticity. Let me tell you about Marcus, different Marcus, not the emperor. Marcus was in a similar situation to Jake. He'd been chasing this woman, Lisa, for months, always the one initiating, always accommodating her schedule. One day, Marcus discovered Stoicism, not as a dating strategy, but because he was genuinely tired of feeling powerless in his own life. He started focusing on his fitness, his career, his friendships. He picked up photography, something he'd always wanted to do. He didn't stop caring about Lisa, but he stopped making her his primary source of validation and purpose. His texts became less frequent but more genuine. His availability became more selective because he actually had other meaningful things going on. Within a month, Lisa was initiating contact more often. She started asking about his photography, showing genuine interest in his life. The dynamic completely flipped, not because Marcus was playing games, but because he had become genuinely more interesting and centered as a person. This is the paradox the Stoics understood. The less you need something, the more likely you are to attract it. But this only works when the not needing comes from a place of genuine abundance, not artificial scarcity. Chapter 4. Her Internal Dialogue. Now, I want to get really specific about what's happening in her internal world when you make this shift. Understanding this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology so you can build healthier relationship dynamics. When you stop chasing, her brain goes through several stages. Let's break them down. Stage 1, confusion and concern, days 1 to 7. Her initial reaction is often confusion. The pattern she's used to has been disrupted. She might think, is he losing interest? Or did I push him away somehow? Maybe he's just busy with work. This isn't her being manipulative or game-playing. This is genuine human psychology. We notice when patterns change, especially patterns involving people we care about. From a Stoic perspective, this is exactly why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does." When you're not constantly monitoring her responses, you're free from this emotional roller coaster. Stage 2, curiosity and interest, days 7-21. As the days pass and you continue being genuinely focused on your own life, something interesting happens. Her curiosity grows. What's he up to these days? He seems really focused on his goals lately. I wonder if he's seeing someone else. And why does that bother me? You might notice she's viewing your stories more often, liking older posts, maybe even commenting on things she wouldn't have before. This isn't coincidence. The Roman Stoic Seneca wrote, "Every man is in bondage to hope or fear." When you're no longer operating from fear of losing her, you're not giving off that desperate energy that pushes people away. Stage 3, respect and attraction, days 21 plus. This is where the real shift happens. She starts seeing you differently. He's got his priorities straight. I respect that he has boundaries and his own life. There's something really attractive about a man who doesn't need constant validation. Let me share what my friend Sarah told me about her experience with this dynamic. She said, I dated this guy who was always so eager to please, always available, and honestly, it made me feel like I was dating a puppy, not a man. But there was this other guy who was interested in me but had his own, clear boundaries and priorities. He'd make time for me, but I knew I wasn't his entire world. That confidence and self-respect was incredibly attractive. Now, here's a crucial distinction. There's a difference between healthy, self-focus, and narcissistic self-absorption. The Stoic approach is about being centered and grounded, not about being selfish or uncaring. When you stop chasing from a Stoic mindset, you're not withdrawing love or care. You're simply not making your happiness dependent on her response to that love and care. Stage 4, the shift in power dynamics. Something beautiful happens when you embody true Stoic principles. The relationship dynamic shifts from pursuer-pursued to two, whole people choosing to spend time together. Her thoughts evolve to, I genuinely enjoy his company. He makes me feel special when we're together because I know he's choosing to be here, not because he needs to be. I can relax and be myself because there's no pressure or desperation. Epictetus taught, don't demand that things happen as you wish. Rather wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. When you apply this to relationships, you stop trying to force outcomes and start enjoying the process. Chapter 5, the deeper psychology. Let's go deeper. Why does this actually work? And I'm talking about the fundamental human psychology that the Stoics understood better than most modern relationship experts. At its core, attraction isn't just about looks or charm or even compatibility. Attraction is about perceiving value. And value, psychologically speaking, is often determined by scarcity and self-possession. When you're constantly available, constantly accommodating, constantly putting her needs before your own, you're unconsciously communicating low value. Not because you're actually low value, but because your behavior suggests you don't believe in your own worth. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius dealt with this on a massive scale. As the most powerful man in Rome, everyone wanted his attention, his favor, his time. But Marcus understood something crucial. The moment he became desperate for anyone's approval, even his closest advisors or family members, he would lose their respect. He wrote, remember that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This wasn't just personal philosophy. This was practical leadership wisdom. The psychology of respect. Here's what happens in her mind when you stop chasing and start living your life with purpose. She begins to respect you. And respect, my friends, is the foundation of all healthy attraction. You can't have genuine love without respect, and you can't have respect without boundaries. When she sees that you have goals and ambitions that exist independently of her, can say no when something doesn't align with your values, don't lose yourself in the relationship. Maintain your friendships and interests. Her brain registers. This is a man who knows his worth. This is a man who won't lose himself to be with me. This is someone I can actually rely on. And here's the paradox. When you don't need her validation to feel complete, she can trust that your feelings for her are genuine, not just dependency disguised as love. The evolutionary psychology angle. From an evolutionary perspective, humans are wired to be attracted to partners who can provide security and stability. But in our modern context, that's not just financial stability, it's emotional stability. A man who is complete in himself, who has purpose beyond the relationship, who can maintain his center even when she's having a bad day or pulling away. That man represents security. Compare this to the man who falls apart every time she's distant, who needs constant reassurance, who has no life outside the relationship. Unconsciously, her brain thinks, if he can't even manage his own emotions, how can he be my rock when life gets tough? The Stoic secret weapon. The Stoics had a secret weapon that modern men have forgotten. They understood that your relationship with yourself determines all your other relationships. Seneca wrote, "Every man is in bondage to hope or fear. When you're in bondage to the hope of her approval or the fear of her rejection, you can't show up authentically in the relationship. But when you've done the inner work, when you've learned to find validation from your own growth and purpose, you can love freely without attachment to outcomes. And that's when she feels safe to love you back, because she knows you won't disappear into the relationship, you won't lose your identity, and you won't make her responsible for your happiness. This isn't game playing. This is emotional maturity." Chapter 6, Practical Application. All right, so how do you actually implement this without becoming a cold, distant person? Because that's the trap many men fall into when they first discover these concepts. First, let's talk about what not to do. Don't suddenly stop all communication as a manipulation tactic. Don't become artificially aloof or dismissive. Don't pretend to have interests you don't actually have. Don't use this as a way to punish her for not being more interested. The Stoic approach isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming centered. The right way, authentic self-development. Step 1. Develop your own mission. Marcus Aurelius started each day by writing about his purpose and goals. You need to do the same. What are you working toward that has nothing to do with getting or keeping a woman? Your career advancement? Your physical fitness? Your creative projects? Your contribution to your community? These need to be real, not just things you do to appear busy. Step 2. Create boundaries based on your values. This isn't about being difficult or playing hard to get. This is about knowing what you will and won't accept based on your values. For example, I don't cancel plans with friends at the last minute unless it's an emergency. I need per week to work on my personal projects. I communicate directly rather than playing guessing games. Step 3. Practice the Stoic discipline of desire. Epictetus taught about controlling your desires and expectations. In relationships, this means enjoying her company without needing it, appreciating her texts without waiting anxiously for them, being happy to see her without being devastated when you can't. Step 4. Maintain your social circle. One of the biggest mistakes men make is abandoning their friends and hobbies when they meet someone they're interested in. Your social life should actually get richer when you're dating someone, not poorer. Step 5. Communicate with Stoic honesty. When you do communicate with her, do it from a place of authenticity, not strategy. Share what's genuinely happening in your life. Ask questions because you're actually curious, not because you're trying to keep the conversation going. Handling the transition. If you've been the chasing type and you suddenly shift to this approach, She might be confused at first. That's normal. Here's how to handle it. Be consistent but gentle in your new boundaries. If she asks why you seem different, you can be honest. I've been doing some self-reflection and focusing more on my own growth. It's nothing you did, I'm just working on being more balanced. The daily practices. Every morning, ask yourself Marcus Aurelius's question. What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee. How can I contribute value today? What can I work on that makes me a better person? How can I show up authentically in my relationships? Every evening, practice Seneca's reflection. What did I do well today? What can I improve tomorrow? Maintaining connection without losing yourself. This isn't about becoming an island. You can still text her when you genuinely want to connect. Make time for her when it works with your schedule. Show affection and interest. The difference is that these actions come from abundance, not scarcity. You're sharing your life with her, not disappearing into hers. Let me leave you with this thought from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. What we've talked about today isn't really about getting any specific person to like you more. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts healthy relationships because you've done the inner work. When you stop chasing, you're not playing a game. You're choosing self-respect. You're choosing to build a life that's so fulfilling that other people want to be part of it, rather than building your life around trying to convince someone to want you. The woman who's right for you will be drawn to this energy. She'll respect your boundaries, appreciate your independence, and choose to be with you because she genuinely enjoys who you are, not because you've convinced her through constant pursuit. And the woman who isn't right for you, she'll find your self-respect threatening or boring. And that's actually perfect information. It saves you months or years of trying to force something that was never going to work. If this resonated with you, I want you to do 3 things. First, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I create content every week about applying ancient wisdom to modern life, and I don't want you to miss it. Second, leave a comment below and tell me, what's one area of your life where you've been chasing instead of focusing on your own growth? Let's start a conversation about how to shift that dynamic. Third, I've created a free guide called The Stoic Relationship Blueprint that goes deeper into these concepts with practical exercises you can start today. The link is in the description below. And if you want to dive deeper, check out this video where I break down Marcus Aurelius's actual relationship advice from his personal writings. It's going to blow your mind how relevant this 2,000-year-old wisdom is to modern dating. Remember what Epictetus said, don't demand that things happen as you wish. Rather wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Stop chasing. Start living. The right person will notice. I'll see you in the next video.